Time to welcome in my buddy Pugs Moran for entertainment news. Dallas radio legend Pugs Moran. Welcome back to the James Show. And before we get into like our first story here, I just saw earlier this hour, within the hour, that Jesse Plemons, Dallas native, he still lives here from what I hear, he actually just won for Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival. Pugs, when did this guy become the most important A-list actor of a generation? This guy, like I first saw him in like Friday Night Lights, and he has just gone up and up and up. And it defies logic. He's not the most handsome guy out there. He's not tall. He doesn't have the best body. He's just a good actor, I guess. Are we there? Do you hear me?
Sorry, there you go. You got me now?
Oh, yeah. Now I have. Yeah, Jesse Plemons, go.
Landry from Friday Night Lights, who was just a side character at best, but I think we all remembered him because he had that thing. There was no reason that we should remember Landry. He was a side. He was Sarah's best friend. He wasn't a main character, and yet for some reason we were all taken by him. He has that thing. When did he become? For me, he did a full season arc on, I want to say, FX's Fargo about 5 or 6 years ago. And that was the first time I really saw him after Landry from Friday Night Lights, where I went, holy cow, this guy is an actor.
All right, so he started out being like a B character to a B character in Friday Night Lights, but they came up with that subplot, that under arc, the story arc, where he stopped the blonde girl from getting sexually assaulted and hit that dude with a pipe and killed him. And from then on, this was the first point in that TV show that was kind of light and fluffy, although they tried to be serious. This was the first real difficult part of acting, was what he and I can't believe I don't remember that other girl's name. They actually had to do some acting. What was her name?
Tyra.
Yeah, Tyra. Not Lila Garrity. Tyra, the other one. Right. So actually, we got to see a little bit of his acting chops in Friday Night Lights, but it wasn't until like season 4. They're like, let's do something with this Landry kid. And I think that's where
I think they realized that, look, he had all the funniest lines. And I take issue with you saying a side character to a side character. Matt Sarrazin was the star. He was the focal point of the entire first season. He was the backup quarterback who had to take over for Street. So, I mean, he wasn't a side character to a B-list character. He was a side character to one of the primary 3 storylines in that first season.
Fair enough. That's decent criticism. But also, he did something similar in Breaking Bad, where he shows up being this kind of doofus-looking Opie guy, but it turns out he's one of the coldest killers the show had.
Todd. He played Todd.
Yeah, Todd. And when he shot that little boy on the motorcycle and then acted the way he acted after that, just like a complete psychopath, I was like, okay, this kid really is a good actor.
He has been tremendous in everything that he's done. And you look, I would push back when you said a bit hyperbole there, best actor of his generation, but you may not be wrong. The Irishman, he played Chucky in The Irishman. I don't know if you saw that. He hits home runs in everything he does. He's terrific. I root for him every time.
Right, and he doesn't look like he's coming with much. You know, he doesn't do like slapsticky fall down comedy or do funny voices like Jack Black, and he's not like fat or weird or anything. He earns it.
But when you can go and you look at his body of work, and when you can go from being Landry in Friday Night Lights to the guy in Civil War who says, "What kind of American are you?" That is range. He is a rangy actor. He can do anything.
Agreed. And he was what else was he in that I saw recently? Oh, Killers of the Flower Moon. I was told he was really good in that.
Yeah, he's good in everything. He's quickly becoming one of those dudes that when he's in a movie, I'll see the movie because I know he doesn't do garbage.
Right, if you're going to keep choosing good movies. All right, now to our first big story. You wanted me to go over this Seinfeld audio that you found on TMZ. Let's hear about a minute and a half of this, or at least until it gets to the good part.
I wonder if
Okay, go ahead.
All right. He's sitting down with Barry Weiss. It's her podcast, and she's asking him about the state of masculinity. So this is Jerry Seinfeld on the state of modern masculinity.
It is maybe your own nostalgia for this time that feels like another planet, or at least another country.
Well, of course it does. But there's another element there that I think is the key element, and that is an agreed upon hierarchy, which I think is absolutely vaporized in today's moment.
Okay.
And I think that is why people lean on the horn and drive in the crazy way that they drive, because we have no sense of hierarchy. And as humans, we don't really feel comfortable like that. So that is part of what I think is, if you want to talk about nostalgia, that's part of what makes that moment attractive looking back. And the other thing is, as a man, can I say that?
Are you sure you are? Are you?
I've always wanted to be.
I didn't ask your pronouns before we began.
I've always wanted to be a real man. I never made it. But I really thought when I was in that era, again, it was JFK, it was Muhammad Ali, it was Sean Connery, Howard Cosell. You can go all the way down there. That's a real man. I want to be like that someday. Well, no. I never really grew up. You don't want to as a comedian because it's a childish pursuit. But I miss a dominant masculinity. Yeah, I get the toxic thing. I get it. But still, I like a real man.
So what is he doing here? Is he trying to be the new kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs or something, Pugs?
I don't think he's doing anything wrong here. I think, look, what he's saying is, we have a problem in this country, I think, where when we're talking about what is a man, where we tend to conflate toxic behavior with traditional masculinity. I think that you can be traditionally masculine without being toxic. And you know what? I don't even like to use the word toxic, because let's just replace the word toxic with a-hole. Just don't be an a-hole. I mean, Gary Cooper wasn't an a-hole. He's a real man. Steve McQueen wasn't. He's a real man. Paul Newman, same thing. Sly and Arnold in the 80s, Bruce Willis, they weren't toxic, they weren't a-holes, but they were real men. So I think what Jerry is saying here, he's pining for a time where we can just let guys be guys without everything being some kind of indictment on, whether or not they're a predator or not. And I applaud that.
All right, let's
take some crap for it, but I applaud it.
Let me hit pause on my Pugs remote here, and if you have any comments, questions, anything you'd like to add or argue with, 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. We will continue with entertainment news next on the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Want to remind you that even though we're doing entertainment news and having fun talking about other things, the second the jury pops out of deliberations in the Trump trial and delivers a verdict, we will pass it right along to you here on WBAP. So leave it right here because we will break in any second. They're done for the day, though. They will get back to work at 8:30 our time tomorrow morning. Just keep it locked in here for the trial of the century, or one of 4 trials of the next 6 months that we're going to be going through. Continuing in entertainment news with Pugs Moran, though, one thing that caught me, my first reaction to hearing the Jerry Seinfeld clip where he's begging for the old masculinity to come back, like when men were men. And, he does that sort of Tony Soprano, whatever happened to Gary Cooper, the strong silent type sort of riff. It feels really weird coming from one of the most beta males in the world.
Well, what is beta? Why is Jerry Seinfeld beta? I don't think he is. I think he's, as he points out in that interview, that he's sort of, his maturity has been stunted. He's a child, but that's because, he's a comedian and it works for him. He's into Serial. He's into Superman. He seems to be eternally 13 years old in his mindset. But what's beta about him? The dude is a super auto guy. He's into cars. He works on engines. He collects Porsches. I mean, he's successful. He's got a string of hot girls in his past, one of them questionably aged. What's beta about him? Other than you could probably beat him up in a fight.
Yeah.
Makes you beta.
So he, he might own some nice cars, but does he have any grease under his fingernails on a regular basis? Does he chop wood? Does he know how to use a chainsaw? Does he have any facial hair? Does he ever wear camo? Has he played a sport with a reasonable skill level?
Baseball. Yes, he was very good at baseball as a kid. And in fact, his dream was to be a professional baseball player until it turned out he wasn't as good as he thought he was. But yeah, no, he's a guy. He's just a guy, man. Just because he's slight and a comedian, it doesn't mean that he's, painting his nails or, let's really talk about what the pushback on masculinity is. We want a more feminized man. The modern world.
Who is we?
Well, the modern world, I'm not speaking about you and I. I'm talking about the demands that we're seeing out there for men to be more sensitive and all of that, You mentioned the chopping wood. Well, that's a bit reductive. He's a New Yorker. You're telling me there can't be any men in New York? There are other things about him.
Well, it's a demerit against you if you're going for alpha status to be a New Yorker, yeah.
Really? Yeah. My God, you ever met any of these mafia macho guys?
Look, Tony Soprano is an alpha male.
What are you nuts?
No.
New York is filled with alphas, and they work on Wall Street, and come on, man, you're being reductive. But I get your point. Jerry, you wouldn't be afraid to bow up to Jerry Seinfeld in a bar fight. But he's a guy. I don't think, he's not feminine, is my point. He's never struck me that way. Has he you? Billy Crystal, maybe, but not Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. Okay, maybe he's between beta and alpha, but he doesn't strike anyone as like some big burly lumberjack manly man. He doesn't look like you've headbutted somebody before. You're an alpha male. You think Jerry Seinfeld's headbutted another dude in the nose?
Well, no, but I also think that extreme success in your chosen field makes you alpha. And I think that he's probably an alpha individual as far as, getting stuff done. I don't know. We don't need to get sidetracked by that.
Okay.
But James.
Well, I had another story because we had talked about this on a previous episode. Scottie Scheffler, now all charges have been dropped less than 2 weeks after his arrest in Kentucky. And this went the way we kind of all hoped it did. The judge says that Scheffler's action do not constitute a criminal offense. And this was just a big misunderstanding, and as corroborated by the evidence. And do you think justice was played out here?
Yes. Yeah, I think that Scottie Scheffler is guilty of bruising a cop's ego. That's what I think this is. I think that he disregarded a police officer's instructions, and the officer got upset with him, and this whole thing blew up into something huge, because I'm not entirely sure that the officer knew that this was the world's number one golfer.
Probably didn't.
When he was creating this whole mess. The audio, did you hear the audio? The audio was released today.
I did not.
Yeah, the audio of it's about 3 minutes long. Scottie Scheffler speaking to a police officer there on the scene. And the thing that struck me right away was that Scottie Scheffler is obviously a guy who has never had to deal with the police before, because he's just talking too much. He's just giving way too much information. But bottom line is, this is a cop with a bruised ego. This was a silly story. Of course it should have been dropped. I'm glad it was.
Oh, good. The other thing I want to talk about, because, we went from talking about Jesse Plemons, who is a Dallas native and still lives here, and we kind of got off with Seinfeld, but we came back to Scottie Scheffler, who lives here. Another Dallas-centric entertainment story is what's going on with the Stars and Mavs. Now, 2 nights ago, where our studio is, right here in the walkway for the American Airlines Center, there were Stars fans that had filled it up. They had brought lawn chairs. They had a DJ with a booth in the corner. They had a mascot in full uniform or full costume dancing around. They had the promotions crew like handing out swag and taking care of people and stuff. And we were all watching the game on that giant 3-story tall TV on the side of the American Airlines Center. Last night, not the same thing for the Mavericks. They actually let people in the building to watch the game in the American Airlines Center, but they didn't play it on the TV outside. Pugs, I was very disappointed.
Why not outside?
I don't know, because they let people in. Maybe the real question is, why didn't the Stars let people in to watch the game in there, or did they and I just missed it? So they're treating it different. They're treating this little plaza setup different. So while I was bragging about the Stars letting everybody come party in front of the AAC for free, and it's a scene, the Mavs didn't do the same, and I couldn't figure that out. So I thought it'd be good for entertainment news.
Well, here's what that tells me. It tells me that the Mavericks and the Stars have different promotions departments with different strategies.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the Mavs obviously want to let people in and do it that way. So that's what I would first think. I would think, well, it's obviously just two different people playing in each party.
All right, tell the guy how to find you outside of the James Show, all the stuff you got going on, Pugs.
Yeah. First, I wanted to compliment you. Yesterday, I happened to be tuning in, and I heard your take on the Robert De Niro situation, and I was really blown away by it. I thought that was an incredible take, one that I did not expect. So kudos to you. Follow me at Pugs Moran on Twitter and Facebook. My high noon stream. It's a rant of daily current events. Happens every day on YouTube. You can find us at Pugs and Company on YouTube. That's it, James.
Thank you. That's Pugs Moran. Yeah, and we do entertainment news. We try and do it every day at Wednesday at this time at 4:30. Thank you very much, Pugs. And thank you very much for hanging out for the James Show today. Stay put. Coming up next, Mark Levin and then Chris Crock. And I'll see you back here to do this tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, tell someone about the show. Check out the podcast. And be nice to each other. This has been the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.